Yo, what's going on, everybody? It is your boy Fitzmonk TV here, aka GLauren33. I am back here today with another episode of the Legit Shoot podcast. Here today with your Smackdown review and results for January 14th, 2022. Hope you guys are staying safe, staying healthy, and hope you guys are doing well. As always, thank you guys for joining me here on the channel. The road to the Royal Rumble continues. And we're going to talk about everything that happened on SmackDown last night like we usually do. But before we get into anything SmackDown related, we are 2 short weeks from the Royal Rumble. Just remind you guys, I do have a little bit of sad news just to report here. I just found this out a couple of minutes ago right before I started recording. So I thought I would report it to you guys. And it involves, our girl, the GOAT, Sasha Banks. I have a little bit of, bad news and hopefully some good news, okay? I'm going to start with the bad news. Like I said, I just found this out as I was pressing record. And since there's a lot of Sasha Banks fans that listen to this podcast, I'll report it to you guys right here. This comes from Joe V Fox 12 on Twitter, right? Very sad news that Rio Bernardo of Rio's Ribs, uncle of Snoop Dogg and father of Sasha Banks, has died, according to his brother. I spent several mornings with Rio and always had a great time. A big personality with a big smile, right? So, of course, you guys should know this. Sasha's real name is Mercedes Bernardo, right? And Joe tweeted this out at 2:25 p.m. earlier today. Last night, Ricky Bernardo, which I believe, his Rio was his brother, so I believe that would make he is Sasha's uncle. He, on his Facebook page about 9 hours ago when I'm recording this, so earlier this morning, he reported, and I quote, "My heart is hurting badly. My brother Rio Bernardo passed away last night at 10:30 p.m. I need prayers and comfort to make it through this rough period in my life. Rest in peace, my brother. I'm going to miss you dearly." So he passed away last night. The thing about it is, I'm not gonna go speculating anything like that. I just know that Sasha was pretty active on her Instagram story throughout the day today. And I also went on Snoop Dogg's page just to see if he had said anything about it. Nothing from those two. So, like I said, I don't want to speculate, but, it was just kind of interesting that, Ricky, Rio's brother posted this on his social media page earlier this morning. So I want to believe that I guess Sasha and Snoop Dogg know. I don't know, but I just noticed that they both were active on social media and they hadn't said anything. They hadn't put out any statement or anything like that. Not that they need to. It was just interesting that both were active on social media earlier and they hadn't said anything about this situation, right? Because I know Sasha, she was out getting treatment for her heel injury, which she's recovering from right now. And she posted a lot of photos. She has her black hair and everything. So it was just interesting to see that she, was active on social media and she hadn't said anything. Because we know one thing that we know about Mercedes is she is a private person. There's a lot that she won't say, on public. Like we've known this from lots of things, from injuries and other situations in the past, like when Sasha was gone in 2019 for 4 months and she almost left WWE, or 2019. From past injuries he's had, we know that Sasha's a very private person. So, it is what it is. I do send my condolences out to Snoop Dogg and, of course, to Sasha, right? This is probably a very challenging time right now. She's already trying to recover from that foot injury. And, of course, she's not able to do what she loves and wrestle on SmackDown now until she's back. We're all hoping that she's back for the Royal Rumble. So she's already trying to, heal and get back in the ring. And now she's dealing with something as big as losing her father. That's huge. That's a lot. I know personally, for me, I lost my grandma late last year, and it's been tough. I still haven't got over it because I was super close to her. She lived with me and the rest of my family. So it was hard just to, be able to go back to work and do what I like to do. If you guys noticed, when I wasn't posting videos near the end of the year, it was because I was dealing with that, and I just didn't have any desire to post out videos, along with some other things. So, I have no idea what Mercedes is going through. I've dealt with loss myself, but dealing with something as massive as losing your father, that's huge. I don't know the relationship Sasha had with her father. That's none of our business, right? But still, no matter what, uh, I know Sasha and the rest of her family are probably going through tough times right now, and I'm just looking at this photo of Ricky. Posted a photo of Rio on his Facebook page. I look at the photo. You could see Sasha. You could see Sasha's eyes. Like you could see where Sasha gets her good looks from. I could see Sasha in this guy, so you could see the genetics and everything. And there's like another thing, Rio's ribs. So I guess that was like his business, right? Famous uh he had a famous rib shop, right? So this guy was a known figure around town, and definitely, like I said, my condolences go out to Sasha and her family, and hopefully, they'll be able to get through this tough time. Sasha will be able to get through this. She's a fighter. She perseveres through a lot, and I know she'll be able to eventually come out of this even stronger. Right? It's a part of life. I don't know what happened. I don't know how he passed away. That's not, like I said, that's none of our business. Uh, it's sadly is a part of life, man. We're born, we live for a period of time, and then we die. Uh, so like I said, I hope Sasha and the rest of her family are doing well. I know this is a rough time for them. My condolences go out to them, and definitely I'll keep Sasha and her family in your prayers as they go through this rough moment of time. So the other thing, so like I said, I had some sad news, right? And then I had some potentially good news for fans of Sasha Banks, right? And that it's right now it seems like the plans that of Sasha and Charlotte at WrestleMania, they are still on. They are still on, right? And I don't think they're gonna be changing anytime soon. So this comes from WrestlingNews.com, a very credible source, right? And the headline says WWE has big WrestleMania plans for Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair. I tweeted this out yesterday. I'm talking about it today on the podcast. Uh, Although the road to get to the top matches at WrestleMania 38 have changed, WWE is still on course to go through with their original plans. So Dave Meltzer reported in the latest edition of the Wrestling Observer newsletter that the top matches for the women at WrestleMania will see Charlotte Flair versus Sasha Banks for the SmackDown Women's title and Becky Lynch versus Bianca Belair for the Raw Women's Championship. Flair has added herself to the Women's Royal Rumble match so she can pick her opponent, while Banks is sidelined due to an injury she suffered at a house show that will keep her out of action for a few weeks. Lynch will be defending the Raw Women's Championship against Doudrop at the Royal Rumble after the former NXT UK star beat Belair and Liv Morgan in a triple threat match this past Monday on Raw to become the new number one contender for the title. Belair has yet to add herself to the Women's Royal Rumble match, but that will happen in the coming weeks. And that's all. That's all that the article says. What's my reaction to this? I'm not surprised whatsoever. I'll start with the Becky thing, right? I'll start with the Becky thing. Becky versus Bianca. First of all, both these matches, it doesn't surprise me at all that this is the plan for WrestleMania. When the draft first happened, these two matches were the most likely matches we saw taking place at WrestleMania. Let's be honest, right? With Becky, the only way things would change were if Bayley were to come back and Ronda Rousey, right? But we know WWE's been wanting to do Ronda Rousey and Becky as a singles match now for years. But, Becky left and then had her kid. And then when Becky came back, Ronda had her kid. So, it's looking unlikely that Ronda's going to come back in time to have a match with Becky at WrestleMania. So it is what it is there. That it looks like that match won't be happening until probably next year. I think next year that's when they're gonna probably want to have it in Hollywood, right? When they have it at the new Rams Stadium, I think at SoFi Stadium. That's when they're gonna probably want to have it. So I'm thinking that next year Becky and Ronda they're gonna want that for WrestleMania 38 or I forget or WrestleMania 39. I don't know. There's so many WrestleManias I forget I honestly forget which is which. Yeah, so yeah, I just to check. WrestleMania 39 is the one in Hollywood. So I'm like right now I'm thinking, the two big matches that they want to do for WrestleMania 39 are gonna be Becky and Ronda and also probably Roman and The Rock if The Rock is able to be there next year for WrestleMania. But we know that eventually Ronda and Becky's gonna happen. It's just gonna depend on when Ronda chooses to come back. And there's really, we've talked about it. Maybe it being a fatal five way, right? Rhea Ripley getting involved, and Liv Morgan, who you guys know I'm very high on, Bianca, of course, and you never know, right? Oscar could come back, and you could put her in the mix, and then Bailey. Bailey's one of the X factors in this whole thing. There's been a lot of talk about Bailey and Becky potentially happening at WrestleMania. Now that we know that Bailey is confirmed to come back at the end of February or March. Bailey's not going to be back in time for the Rumble this year. She's still recovering from that ACL she tore in June, but they're saying that she is on track to come back sooner. And, the end of February, early March could see Bailey ready to come back to action. You know, so if you're not gonna have Ronda at WrestleMania, the only match I could see if you don't do like a fatal five way match, right, with either Alexa or Rhea or Liv or and Bianca like that, the only other match I could see likely to happen outside of Becky versus Bianca is Becky versus Bailey, and there's gonna be a lot of people talking about that because out of all of the four horsewoman feuds, right, Becky versus Bailey is the only one that's fresh. We've seen Sasha and Becky. We've seen Sasha and Bailey. We've seen Sasha and Charlotte. We've seen Charlotte and Becky. We've seen Charlotte and Bailey, right? The only one we haven't seen is really Bailey versus Becky, because those two have always been on opposite brands on the main roster. They've always been on opposite brands, right? The only time they've really interacted was at that Survivor Series match. And there's a moth in my room. I hate moths. Hopefully I killed it. But I didn't kill it. I could still see it flying. This is pissing me off. If I see it coming, I'm going to pause the recording and then kill it. But anyway, yeah. So, the only time we've seen Bailey and Becky, this stupid moth pissed me off. All right. Moth is dead. I killed it on my window and I'll clean up its corpse after the podcast. Anyway, like I was saying, the only times we've seen Bailey and Becky interact was when Bailey and Sasha were heels and they went up against Charlotte and Becky. And then I think Survivor Series when they had the triple threat with Shayna. That was it. We've never seen Becky and Bailey in a one-on-one, classic championship feud. So if Bailey comes back, a lot of people are going to be asking, what do you do with Bailey at WrestleMania? Right? If you're doing Charlotte and Sasha on SmackDown and you're doing uh Becky, right? If you're not doing Becky and Bianca, right? Bailey versus Becky is a option that no one's gonna complain about. No one's gonna complain about. No matter if and then it might open the door for Bailey to turn back into a face. Bailey's been a fantastic heel over the last couple of years, right? But there's still a lot of people that would love to see Bailey have another babyface run, you know? So if Becky's a heel right now, you can easily have Bailey come back and turn face, right? Has say that she opened her eyes while she was on injury and she wants to be, that love figure for the WWE universe again. You can easily have Bailey come back and be a babyface once again. It would be an easy transition. So nobody's gonna complain if you do Bailey versus Becky at WrestleMania. That's really the only other match outside of Ronda and Becky that could overshadow Bailey, that could overshadow Becky and Bianca. Right. So right now, your three biggest options for Becky at Mania are Becky versus Ronda, which is probably not going to happen because Ronda's not going to come back. Becky versus Bayley, which is can happen, and Becky versus Bianca. So we'll still have to see what happens. Look, I'm not against Bianca and Becky at Mania, but you've kind of already buried Bianca when it comes to Becky. You know, so what does if you have Bianca beat Becky at WrestleMania? Does it overshadow the last 8 months? Does Bianca get justice for the last 8 months that you had Becky absolute bury her and mop the floor with her in every single category? I don't know. It would depend on how the story would be. I don't know if it would truly do justice because SummerSlam was such a horrific creative blunder that I just you can't just expect me to sit here and say that Bianca versus Becky, Bianca winning at WrestleMania, right, having another crowning moment at WrestleMania 1 year after beating Sasha in the main event of WrestleMania. That fixes everything that you did wrong with the Becky and Bianca feud originally. I don't know. I'm not gonna sit here and say I'm against it, but like you did such a bad job with the Becky and Bianca feud originally, and what happened at SummerSlam that I just don't know if just Bianca winning at WrestleMania that fixes everything. I don't. I know some people are gonna feel strongly about that. I say I just don't know. I would have to wait see how the story would play out before I could say anything. Okay, all right. So Becky and Bianca, if it happens, it happens at WrestleMania. We'll see what happens. But I still think Becky and Bayley, is probably the better option, and it's the more likely option at this point. I don't know because what else? What else do you do with Bayley at WrestleMania? She didn't get to compete at Mania last year. Remember, she didn't even have a match at Mania last year. She hosted one of the nights of WrestleMania, and now what? You got Bayley miss 2 WrestleManias in a row. It's something you have to think about. Like who else would Bayley face on the main roster? I really can't think of anybody off the top of my head, unless maybe you bring back a legend, like maybe you bring back Lita or somebody, or Beth Phoenix, somebody like that to face Bayley at Mania. I really don't know what else you would do, but we'll see what happens. But it's something to keep our eyes on. And quickly on the whole thing with Sasha Banks and Charlotte, there's no surprise. Clearly, the direction, the original plan was probably for Sasha to win the Rumble. She was the favorite to win the Women's Royal Rumble, and she still is one of the favorites because there's a lot of people that believe that Sasha could still come in at number 30. She is healing. She has been doing therapy. She's been posting on her social media page, right? Sasha still could win the Royal Rumble. I still think there's a part of me that WWE is lying, and they're trying to make us believe that Sasha won't be able to make it to the Rumble just to, do a surprise, entry at number 30, a la John Cena, Royal Rumble 2008. And I will keep bringing that up until we get to WrestleMania. Until we get to the Rumble. If Sasha doesn't appear at the Rumble, fine, it's whatever. We know that WWE has the Elimination Chamber. That is confirmed that the Elimination Chamber will be taking place at Saudi Arabia, right? It looks like WWE's going to have another Saudi Arabia show in February. So what's most likely going to happen is if Sasha doesn't return from the Rumble, they'll probably use the Elimination Chamber to confirm that Sasha will be Charlotte's opponent at Mania. Like I said, this was the year for Sasha to win the Rumble, and it will be sad if she doesn't win the Rumble. But at the end of the day, I think her beating Charlotte at WrestleMania is, the bigger thing. I want Sasha to win the Royal Rumble. I want her to have a whole story with Charlotte. But if the injury, keeps that from happening, and they have to use the Elimination Chamber or some other way to have Sasha be determined as Charlotte's challenger at Mania, fine, so be it. As long as this all ends with Sasha beating Charlotte at WrestleMania, and I think that would most likely be the night 1 main event. I don't think there's anything else. And like I said, some people are like, "Oh, plans are gonna change." Guys, there's nobody else for Charlotte to face at Mania. There's nobody. Right? Charlotte versus Bayley, we've seen it. Charlotte versus Asuka, we've seen it. Charlotte versus Rhea Ripley, we've seen it. There's nobody else. There is nobody on SmackDown for Charlotte to face. You're going to do Charlotte versus Shotzi Blackheart? No. Charlotte versus Natalya? No. Charlotte versus Aaliyah? No. You're doing the Charlotte versus Naomi feud right now. So clearly, no matter when Sasha comes back, Sasha versus Charlotte is going to be the direction and the plan for WrestleMania. It's that simple, and you have to accept that. I mean, I don't want to hear anything else about anybody complaining that Sasha versus Charlotte's not, isn't deserved and all this other crap that I've been hearing, right? No, it's deserved. It's deserved. So Charlotte versus Charlotte, I'm glad that that's still on the table because let's be honest, WWE didn't have any other options for the SmackDown Women's Title at Mania. Bianca versus Becky, that might be the plan for now, but that one's more likely to change. Because you have Liv Morgan, you have Rhea Ripley, you have Alexa Bliss, right? If Bayley comes back, you never know. Ronda could come back. You never know. So we'll see. The Raw Women's Championship plans, we still got to keep an eye on that because those could change in the coming weeks and months. But the SmackDown Women's Title plans, there should be no plans to change. So that's my thoughts on that. Let me know what you guys think of that right now. What do you guys think of Sasha versus Charlotte for the SmackDown Women's Title and Becky versus Bianca for the Raw Women's Title at WrestleMania? Let me know what you guys think. Should there be another match that's better than that? Let me know, and we'll discuss in the comment section. So next up, so we're gonna get into SmackDown tonight, right? This show wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. It wasn't too special. There's still some issues, especially when it comes to the main event, seeing that which will be the big topic of conversation on tonight's podcast. I still have big problems with Roman and Seth. Even though I know it's gonna be a banger at the Royal Rumble, I still have some problems which we need to talk through. And, the show wasn't bad. And remember, SmackDown is decimated right now by injury. No Sasha for, at least another month. And, of course, no Drew. And, it's looking more and more likely that Drew's not going to be back anytime soon. So, definitely stuff we need to be mindful of. But getting into it, let's waste no time. Let's get into the show. The show started off with the Usos. The Usos came out to announce a fatal four-way to determine who would be the number one contenders for the SmackDown Tag Team titles. Remember, the Usos were feuding with the New Day for the majority of the last couple of months. But after ending that feud last week, they knew new challengers, right? And this was pretty obvious. It was obvious right away who was going to win this match. But it's just 50-50 booking here, and we'll talk about that in a sec. So the Usos actually got a huge pop here, which of course the Usos are widely popular, even though they're supposed to be heels. They are very, very popular with the fans still, and they announced the four teams in their unique ways, the four teams that would be battling to see who would be facing them. The Usos made it clear, though, that no matter who won the Fatal 4-Way, they would be one and done by the hands of the Bloodline, right? So the Usos were not really concerned about who they were going to face. Anyway, so they introduced the Los Lazaros, so Angel Garza and Humberto, right? They announced Garza and Humberto. Then they announced the new team of Cesaro and Mansoor, right? So classic WWE, putting together random ass tag teams. Legit. It's like a WWE creative person went into catering and they picked out two random baby faces. Like, all the baby faces, raise your hands, right? And then Cesaro and Mansoor raised their hands, and they were the two to get picked. These two have absolutely nothing in common. It made so much more sense. Look, I think Ali's out with injury, if I'm right. I'm not sure. Imagine, how great this match would have been if you had Mansoor and Ali still together, because they actually made sense as a tag team, right? Imagine you had those two still together, and then if you brought back Cesaro and Sheamus as the bar. I've been highly wanting that for, a while now, but I guess they rather have Sheamus and, Ridge Holland together, which is whatever. But still, Cesaro and Mansoor make no sense as a tag team. They have nothing really in common other than being baby faces, right? When they came out, I was like, wait, what? Wait, huh? Like, what are we doing here? So next, for the third team, they had Jinder Mahal and Shanky, came out. Right, so I guess this kind of made a little more sense because Shinky and Mahal have been together now for most of this year. Either they're both are losers on WWE TV, but I guess they made sense as a tag team. And the fourth team was the Viking Raiders, right? Clearly, clearly, the Viking Raiders were going to be the favorite here. We talked about it at the day one pay per view. We talked about how the Viking Raiders were going to be the next ones in line. They're baby faces, right? They've been teaming for a long time, and they're the only, I guess, respectable team left on the SmackDown Tag Team division that the Usos have been beaten. Because you take out the New Day, who else are the Usos gonna have to face? And this is what happens when you break up tag team every single day, every single week. You break up a tag team, and then once a month you make a new tag team. This is the problem. So this was a highly predictable match from the start, right? Because the Usos are heel. You need them to face a babyface tag team, and you can't make me believe in Cesaro and Mansoor when they've never teamed together. It would have been more of a detriment if Cesaro and Mansoor had won this match because they've never teamed together, and it would have made the other three teams that have at least teamed together for some time, look stupid. So, basically, as we came back from break, right, the Viking Raiders were picking up steam. Cesaro and Mahal did a superplex on Ivar. Eric joined in and executed a Tower of Doom spot, of course. Uh, so classic that almost always is guaranteed to happen in a big tag team match, multi-man, right? So Cesaro went for the swing on Ivar, but Mahal broke it up. The Los Lazaros exploded through the ring and wiped out the competition. Ivar team was going to do the same thing, but he was met by drop kicks from the heel. But then Ivar was able to recover, and him and Eric were able to hit the Viking Experience on the Los Lazaros for the win. So the Viking Raiders are now the new number one contenders for the SmackDown Tag Team Championships. Like I said, the Usos then did an interview backstage, and they said that the Viking Raiders would be one and done. Like I said, this is pretty obvious. Pretty obvious. And I said this last week on SmackDown Review that the Viking Raiders were going to get built up for the next shot at the Usos. The only thing that didn't make any sense to me is why did you have the Viking Raiders lose to Madcap Moss and Baron Corbin in tag team action? If you knew the Viking Raiders were going to be the next number one contenders, why would you have them lose? The Usos have been one of the most dominant, if not the most, they're the most dominant tag team in the entire company. So we're trying to make the Viking Raiders look like a credible threat, and you have them lose to freaking Madcap Moss and Baron Corbin, those two clowns. That's what we're doing. It's a big problem with what I see in WWE, man. 50-50 booking. 1 week they lose, and another week we're supposed to believe them as credible champions or credible challengers to one of the best tag teams ever. And I know we all know the Viking Raiders are credible opponents, but from a storytelling perspective, from a win-loss perspective, no, they make absolutely no sense. No sense. But the Usos are gonna run through the Viking Raiders. I don't know when this match is gonna take place. I don't know if they're gonna do it at the Rumble, all right, or they're gonna save it for Saudi Arabia. We'll just have to wait and see. But the Viking Raiders, I don't think there's any chance that they take the titles off of the Usos. They're an enjoyable team, they're a fun team, but I don't see them taking those titles off the Usos. I don't know who will. I don't know if there is anybody that can take those titles out the Usos, but I don't think it's gonna be the Viking Raiders. We'll see what happens, but it is something very interesting. I need a glass of water. Anyway, moving on. We had Sami Zayn presenting Insane, right? And this was kind of very cringy, but you guys could tell this was to promote the whole thing with Johnny Knoxville. We know that Sami Zayn has been having two feuds at once. He's not only feuding with Shinsuke Nakamura over the IC title, which is good because the IC title needs a feud. You guys hear me bitch and moan about it every single week on this podcast. But he's also feuding with Johnny Knoxville, who, of course, we know from Jackass 3D. and we know that Johnny Knoxville is going to be in the Royal Rumble, right? So they'll go with the whole Jackass 3D vibe, right? They put a ramp next to the ring and a landing platform, and Zayn was kept teasing how he was gonna jump over the ring, right? And the whole thing insane, right? So cringy name. Wouldn't be surprised if WWE tries to put this on a t-shirt. Bitch. The only thing that made this segment bearable is how entertaining Sami Zayn is, right? The guy is so entertaining. Whether you like him or not, you have to admit it. Uh, so Zayn entered the arena. He had a mic, and he talked about how he was going to beat Nakamura for the IC title eventually. But he also talked about how Johnny Knoxville humiliated him by tossing him over the top rope, right? So Zayn said, and I quote, "When it comes to being a jackass, no one is better than Sami Zayn," which was kind of hilarious, you know? So Zayn introduced Insane, which is, of course, supposed to be like a new stunt show with him doing crazy stuff. And the whole thing is these two jabronis who are pushing the shopping cart. They're supposed to push him in the shopping cart, launching him up the ramp over the ring to the other side. He stalled about 3 or 4 times till eventually Rick Boogs appeared, and then he distracted him, allowing Nakamura to hit him with a Kinshasa. And then Rick Boogs did an overhead press to Zayn and threw him to the floor where the landing platform right on target where he was supposed to land in the cart, which of course Pat McAfee was dying on commentary. I love Pat McAfee on commentary. He makes everything more enjoyable and fun. Like I said, usually I'm not a big fan of these comedic segments, but here it worked. Here it worked because of how good Sami Zayn in is. I like how at least they're kind of continuing this thing with Johnny Knoxville, even though Johnny Knoxville should be nowhere near a WWE ring. It's kind of funny how Zayn's having that or allowing that to bother him and affect his mindset. But clearly, this is gonna lead in the Rumble. And probably Johnny Knoxville will end up eliminating Sami Zayn from the Rumble. This is probably where this is leading to. It was kind of fun. It was kind of fun because of how entertaining Sami Zayn is. It would have been funny if they actually had him to try. They actually had him try to go over that thing. Clearly it's very unlikely to do it, but you never know. You never know. But yeah, yeah, and it was good to see Nakamura back. I don't know if Nakamura's been cleared because we know that Nakamura, all he had to do here was a Kinshasa, which is not hard to do as a finisher, right? Uh, but yeah, it was good to see Nakamura back. We know, of course, he's doing with the hand injury, and we'll just have to wait and see when they do this match. It's probably gonna be after Royal Rumble, if I had to guess. They might delay it all the way to Saudi Arabia. Because if Zayn's in the Rumble, most likely, I think Nakamura could also be in the Rumble as well. Wouldn't be surprised at it for a minute. But yeah, we'll just wait and see what happens. Like I said, this was kind of fun. This was actually kind of fun, and hopefully we'll get some more insane in the coming weeks. Insane. Like I said, that's kind of catchy. You could put that on a T-shirt. Anyway, moving on, we had Alea versus Natalia. Some history breaking made here. Anyway, next up, we had, like I said, yeah, Alea and Natalia. Uh, and I don't know, Natalia's been kind of feuding with some of the younger talent on SmackDown. She's been fighting like Xia Li at house shows as of late. Now looks like that's transitioning to TV with Alea, right? And on one hand, I like this, and on another hand, I was like, is this something really to be excited about? So Natalia, came on. She was talking about her 3 records in the Guinness Book of World Records. Even though I couldn't tell you which ones she actually has because I don't remember them. I wasn't even really paying attention when she said it, right? And then she wanted to add another one, and this one was she wanted to have the new record for shortest WWE victory ever, right? So so Natalia attacked Alea, before the bell, hoping butter her up to get a very quick roll of victory. I believe the victory was the shortest WWE victory ever before was Trish Stratus. I think she had one of the 3 point something seconds. And it was like a women's championship defense back from the Attitude Era, back when she was in her prime. Uh, but yeah, Natalia was going for that record, and it looked like Alea would not be able to start the match, right? She was able to convince the referee that she could go, and then she actually kind of rolled up Natalia before the match began, because right as the bell rang, Alea went right after the pin and was able to get the roll up very, very quick. And it was actually a fair roll. It wasn't a fast count or anything like that. Alea was just able to get the best of Natalia when she caught lacking. It was then later said by the announcer that Alea now owned the record for shortest WWE victory ever, and now it's a 3.1 second win. So very, very happy for Alea. Congratulations to her. My problem here is one. Okay, it's good that Alea's getting. It looks like maybe Alea could be getting a little bit of a push, right? Because you don't really have a choice on SmackDown. You don't really have a choice anymore whether or not you want to push some of these superstars. You don't have Sasha. The SmackDown Women's Division is in a weak place. We're not really seeing Shayna Baszler or Shotzi Blackheart being used at all, right? And those two are both heels. So so while Sasha's out, this is a time when you should be trying to build up the division. Having Alea feud with Shayna Baszler and Natalia, and even though Alea isn't the best in the ring, have her, try to gain some experience. She has the crowd over a little bit, and of course, as she gets victories and as she develops more in the ring, she'll get more popular. That's what's been going on the last year with Liv Morgan. Liv Morgan has gotten significantly better in the ring, and now she's able to work with a variety of opponents and have good matches with them. And she's having success now for it, and hopefully eventually leads with Liv winning a Raw Women's Championship. But but I'm happy for Liv Morgan. I think Alea has potential too, right? Instead of having these women who are talented sitting catering and rot, use Alea, use Naomi, use Xia Li, so that when Sasha comes back, we can have some bigger feuds and matches, and then the crowd, actually will know who these superstars are. So, I'm happy for Alea here. I'm just hoping that it continues because my fear is, of course, once Sasha comes back and some of these aren't going to get healthy, these women will no longer get TV time. They won't be used. And of course, the women's division won't be able to evolve. And they'll continue having to rely and have the same people like Charlotte and Becky on top all the time, which all of us are sick of at this rate. So happy for Alea, but my concern is, WWE won't, control it and let it, go forward. Hopefully, I'm wrong on that. I want to be wrong on that, but just knowing how WWE operates, it's something we have to talk about. It's something we have to bring up. Next up, Lita. Lita came up, to interrupt Charlotte Flair. I'm gonna play. I'll actually play the clip for you guys here. Give me a sec.
Satisfied with my career. Until kind of recently, right? I did not have the opportunity to compete in the Royal Rumble match when I was competing. We didn't have one. But now we do. And I don't know about you guys, but I think I've got one run left in me.
And that's probably the biggest thing to take from this, right? Beth Phoenix is back. she's back. I don't know how long Beth plans to be back. I don't know if WWE's now bringing back some of these women, hopefully to help them fill out the women's division. But Lita is back for the Rumble and could be further. The Bella Twins are back, and they're probably gonna end up winning the women's tag titles at WrestleMania. And Beth Phoenix is back as well. And like I said, we don't know how long Beth and Lita are gonna be around, but the fact that Lita says, I have one left, I have one run left in me, that could be big. That's something that could potentially lead to WrestleMania for all you know, right? Bailey's like, if Bailey doesn't end up challenging Becky Lynch for the Raw Women's Championship at WrestleMania like so many people want, I think Bailey versus Lita could happen easily. Bailey comes back as a heel and challenges Lita for a match at Mania. That's an easy thing. That's an easy match to book. If Lita's being, serious about this run. This may only be for the Rumble, right? Or Lita could think, hey, maybe I have another run in me. Maybe I can come back and have matches with Asuka and Bailey and Sasha Banks and some of these very talented women on today's roster.
Omaha agrees.
So I've got a plan, okay? I'm going to enter the Royal Rumble. I'm going to mow through 29 women, come out victorious, and main event WrestleMania.
With Lita.
I got this. I'm going to interview Lita.
Oh, Michael Cole, take a seat, stooge.
I've actually called him a stew.
Lita, how are you?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, whatever. I didn't know it was Flashback Friday. I mean, you guys, this is so extreme. Isn't that what you used to say back in the day? Wow, I mean, it's so much fun reminiscing about the good old days. But I don't know if you know this, but I'm entering the Royal Rumble as champion. And when I win, I get to pick the opponent to main event WrestleMania.
So yeah, just to be clear, right? Because some people got confused. Charlotte at first, last week said that if she wins the Royal Rumble, she'll be able to choose what champion she gets to face. That's not the case. That's not the case. Charlotte, actually, if she does win the Royal Rumble, she gets to choose who she faces at WrestleMania for the SmackDown Women's title. So she would get to choose her challenger. So in theory, if she wanted to have the easiest match ever, she could pick Kermit the Frog to face her at Mania. So there's been some people throwing it out there that maybe Charlotte, she wins the Rumble, she ends up choosing Sasha as her opponent. That is an option. You never know. I still think it's more likely that Sasha might be lying to us and she'll actually be at the Rumble. But, we'll just have to wait and see how it all goes down. The other thing I will say is Charlotte's outfits get worse and worse by the week, right? I'm always over here complimenting how Sasha and Bailey, how they know how to dress, right? Their outfits are amazing. Even, Bianca Belair, she has some pretty stylish outfits. But Charlotte and Becky, man, their outfits just get more and more horrific by the week. I have no idea what Charlotte's wearing here. I don't know if this is part of the Motherboard collection, right? I don't know if Charlotte's just debuting the Robot Android Charlotte Flair collection 2022 edition. I don't know if that's what Charlotte's doing here or what. But her outfits these last couple weeks, not it.
So in a few weeks, when I throw you over the top rope, this fun little run that you're talking about is going to be over. So I guess my question is, which I know you're all dying to know. I mean, Lita, I'm dying to know. Are you ready for this question? How are you going to handle the humiliation when I end this short-lived comeback in your WrestleMania dreams?
It's an interesting interview style from Charlotte.
Oh, yeah. I heard about this whole Charlotte, this version here, right here. Looks like we've got a real Tanya Harding on our hands, huh? I'm just keeping with the Flashback Friday thing. You know,
Oh,
it's like a
that's
theme.
hilarious.
But I'm just curious how you're going to throw anyone over the top rope with that, like, giant head that you have. Like, how do you not just, like, tip over?
Kind of cringe. Giant head.
A giant.
Here's the thing. Like, look, I would like to, cheer for Lita here, but that's cringe as hell. Because Charlotte won the Royal Rumble a couple years ago. So, I understand it's for the entertainment, but I don't know. Maybe because I'm too much of a logical guy, but I just hear that I'm just cringing. Like, huh? Giant head? Just cringe coming. I like Lita. I'm just, but it just cringe to me. That's what it is. Just cringy.
Head. A huge giant head.
I can't hear you.
I said giant head.
So, you know what, Lita, I have a question for you. It's really funny that you bring up your bestie, Trish Stratus, because back at SummerSlam 2019, when Trish was bored with being a mom and desperate to be relevant, she actually begged me for a match. And I mean, of course I said yes. I mean, and you know what? She put up a hell of a fight, but she lost. I broke her. She was so broken, she actually retired. And at the Royal Rumble pay-per-view, that's exactly what I'm going to do to you.
Oh. Charlotte with the quick reaction there as Lita taunts her. No taunting this time. Lita with a twist of fate.
Charlotte sold the twist of fate horrifically. That was a horrific way to sell the twist of fate. I'm cringing looking at this right now. But, still, Lita looks good.
Reaction there as Lita taunts her. No taunting this time. Lita with a twist of fate.
Like I said, Lita looks good. I don't know. How old is Lita? Let's search that up real quick. I remember in 2015, Lita was at WrestleMania 31 when she presented the Raw Women's Championship. What would eventually become known as the Raw Women's Champion. At that time, it was the Women's Championship. But Lita, how old is Lita? That was 7 years ago. Lita's only 46. Wow. Surprising. Like, dang. Like, she looks good for her age, man. Like, dang. So, it'll be interesting if Lita's actually serious about one more run. I don't remember. I believe Lita was in a couple past Royal Rumbles. I believe she was. So, I believe she's been in the Royal Rumble before. So, I don't think this would be her first, Women's Royal Rumble. I think she was in the first one with Trish, but I could be wrong. But I don't think Lita's going to win. Right? But like I said, if Lita is serious about having one more run, it's definitely going to be interesting. I could definitely see if Bayley comes back, I can definitely see, and if Bayley's not in the Raw Women's Championship picture, going into WrestleMania, I could definitely see Bayley versus Lita happening. I think that would be a match a lot of us would get excited for. And that was that. Next up, we had Ricochet versus Sheamus, right? And this was kind of, if you guys remember back at the day one pay-per-view, Ricochet broke Ridge Holland's nose, right? And because of that, Ridge Holland's been out of action, which I don't Ridge Holland's been out of action. So Sheamus was now getting, wanted to get payback for his young protege. So they had Sheamus and Ricochet go at it. So this was a, decent match. These two are pretty damn good. Like, your classic power versus air attack, right? Sheamus dominated for most of the match. Ricochet came back and completed. He hit a sunset flip power bomb from the top rope, which looks beautiful, right? But then Sheamus was eventually able to get the win with a bro kick out of nowhere, and that was that. Well, I will say this: I said this last week, right? I know that Sami Zayn is currently the number one contender for the IC title, but this is what you need on SmackDown. You need a competitive mid card division. After you do Sami Zayn, right? I would have. Why don't you do Ricochet after Sami Zayn, right? Have Ricochet challenge Shinsuke Nakamura after that, and then maybe like for the Saudi Arabia show or something like that. And then I would eventually do Sheamus and Nakamura at WrestleMania. I would do, as of right now, I would do Sheamus and Shinsuke Nakamura for the IC title at WrestleMania. You know, I love Sheamus. You guys know that, and I think Sheamus should be in a prominent match at Mania. Sheamus has been one of the most consistent workers in WWE for the last couple years. I think he's highly underrated. The guy's gonna be probably gonna be a first ballot Hall of Famer one day with everything he's done in WWE. Winning King of the Ring, winning Royal Rumbles, he's held world titles, he's held tag titles, he's held mid card titles, right? He's done a lot. So I think Sheamus is definitely deserving of a big time match at Mania, and I would love to see him and Nakamura clash at Mania. I would love to see that. So we'll see what happens, but if I'm looking for an IC title match at Mania, that's what I'm looking for. And I'm gonna keep talking about that as the weeks go on. So backstage, Naomi so Naomi was trying to get her hands on Sonya Deville. Because remember, Sonya Deville cost Naomi a big time match against SmackDown Women's Champion Charlotte Flair last week. And the whole thing was just weird, I guess. So not Adam Pearce, Sonya Deville can't have a suit coat on, right? For Naomi to hit her. Because usually when a WWE authority figure is in a suit, they can't be touched. But the second they take the suit coat off, right, they're not in an official capacity. So what doesn't make sense to me is I can be wearing a shirt and tie and you can attack me, but the second I just put my suit coat on, my blazer on, I can't be touched. I thought they meant, whenever you're not in, suit attire, like, you're wearing a ref shirt or you're wearing a ring attire or just anything else. So I was like, this is kind of nonsense. So Sonya, told Naomi that she couldn't stand her, right? Because she thinks that she deserves all this crap, right? And, Naomi left very angrily, but I guess Naomi pulled some strings and all of a sudden was able to mess with the thermostat in Sonya's office. So basically, all you see is, Adam Pearce later in the show. He was only in his t-shirt. Sonya took off her suit coat. She had her tie unbuckled with the top button unbuttoned. And then you look at Naomi. Naomi came back in, and since Sonya didn't have her blazer on, Naomi was about to beat Naomi's ass, which I said was weird. Like, what? I didn't know the blazer was that powerful in WWE. But anyway, before Naomi could get her hands on Sonya, Pearce came back in, and basically he agreed with Naomi that it was Sonya was the reason why she lost last week. And the thing about it is, it's taken like 3 months because Sonya's been bullying and using her power to hold Naomi back down for 3 months. And now all of a sudden Adam Pearce wants to get involved and do his job, right? And make things fair for Naomi. So anyway, Pearce then booked a rematch between Charlotte and Naomi for next week's show, right? And what I think is going to happen is Naomi may be able to beat Charlotte. The thing is, Pearce didn't announce that, that Sonya could get involved. And Pearce was really doing his job. What he would have said is, oh, if Naomi or if Sonya gets involved, Naomi wins the match automatically, right? But I think what's going to happen is I think the plan is it's all going to really depend on Sasha, right? Because Sasha versus Charlotte should be the plan for WrestleMania. Naomi versus Charlotte's going to be that filler feud to bridge us from now until WrestleMania when Sasha and Charlotte start their feud, right? We know that both Naomi and Charlotte are going to be in the Rumble, If Sasha's not there, if Sasha's not there, I could see Naomi maybe eliminating Charlotte from the match. That is, could potentially happen. I don't know, but I think what could be likely to happen is Charlotte and Naomi might happen at Saudi Arabia. I remember a couple years ago they had Charlotte and Bailey face at a Saudi Arabia show. I think it's likely that we may see Charlotte and Naomi face off at Saudi Arabia. But the thing you have to keep in mind is if Sasha doesn't appear at the Rumble and if she's not ready, they could do something where, they do a number one contenders match at the Elimination Chamber in Saudi Arabia to determine who Charlotte faces at WrestleMania. That could be the case for all you know, right? Or maybe they do something else. I don't know. But either Sasha wins the Rumble or Sasha wins a Chamber. One of those two ways is the most likely way that, Sasha versus Charlotte will be set for Mania. I don't know how, but, whatever happens with Sasha, it's going to affect this Charlotte and Naomi feud. Naomi's not going to beat Charlotte for the title. That's not happening. But, it is going to have a role in when Charlotte and Naomi have their title match. No matter if that's on a random edition of SmackDown or it takes place at the next Saudi Arabia show in February. So it will be interesting to see. So next week, they did confirm that next week it will be Charlotte and Naomi one-on-one, non-title match. And we'll have to see, will Sonya interfere again? Right. So that was set for next week. It's just, to be honest, it's just good to see Naomi get a push. That's the, if I'm being honest, it's just good to see Naomi get a push. So then next up we had Kofi Kingston versus Madcap Moss. So Kingston came out before the match and he announced that Xavier Woods has a calf injury and that he will not be in the Royal Rumble match. So another name from SmackDown injured. So Sasha, Drew McIntyre, and Xavier Woods. Three prominent names now. Two big names, of course, and Xavier is a prominent name. All three of those superstars might not be in the Royal Rumble. We know that Woods won't be in the Royal Rumble, but we don't know yet about Drew and Sasha. But yeah, Kingston came out, said that Woods would have to miss the Royal Rumble, but Kingston will be in, though. Will be interesting because, every year Kofi, has a unique way to keep himself in the match. You guys can search it up. When Kingston goes in the Hall of Fame one day, right? Definitely, he's probably going to talk about all of his famous Royal Rumble saves. No matter if it was the New Day helping him or him walking on the barricade, right? Or him doing handstands. Kingston definitely has, many unique ways to keep himself from getting out of the Royal Rumble. And I cannot wait to see what he comes up with this year. But Corbin and Madcap Moss came out, and there was a little bit of a verbal exchange, right? And Kingston then vowed to take a royal deuce on Moss's forehead. They went into a quick singles match. It wasn't long. Most of the match took place during the commercial break. And this was a quick match. Moss won with the punchline neckbreaker. So I don't know what's really going on here. First off, Madcap Moss and Corbin beat the War Raiders, the Viking Raiders last week, and now you have the Viking Raiders as the number one contenders for the SmackDown Tag Team titles, 50-50 booking. And now this week you have Madcap Moss beat Kofi Kingston. Are you trying to keep Madcap Moss and Corbin looking strong? Is that what you're doing? Because eventually that Drew's going to come back to get revenge on those two whenever he's cleared and healthy. I don't know. But I'm not a fan of this duo at all. I don't really care for them, and I don't know why they're getting pushed so hard. Kingston could have used this win because you need star power on SmackDown right now. The main event scene is dead. It's completely dead on SmackDown. You don't have Drew McIntyre. Jeff Hardy left, and there's nobody else. Why do you think we have Seth coming from Raw to face Roman for the Universal title at the Rumble? Because there's nobody else. I would not be against a Roman and Kofi Kingston, mini feud. I would hate to see Kingston lose, but it's better than nothing. Kofi Kingston is a former WWE champion, you know? So, and I know Kingston and Roman could have a great match. You guys remember the Kofi Kingston and Drew McIntyre match from last year when they were determining who would face, I think it was Bobby Lashley for the WWE Championship? I would love to see Kofi Kingston and Roman Reigns go at it. You need star power more than ever. So, I don't know. If there's plans, if they have plans for Madcap Moss and Corbin, all right, fine. But I don't believe that, I don't believe in this company to have plans for anybody outside of Roman Reigns. There's plans for nobody in this company outside of Roman Reigns. So, I'm sorry, but I'm not with Madcap Moss beating Kofi Kingston, right? You should be using Kofi in a better instant, especially, right, if Xavier Woods is out right now and Big E is, a single star on Raw, use Kofi Kingston right now. Push him. Push him. The guy's a former WWE champion. He's no slouch. He had one of the better WWE championship reigns in recent memory. I talk about it all the time. The guy should not be losing the freaking Madcap Moss of all people. So, I would hope that WWE, somebody from WWE would listen to this and would look to actually use this. Because, like I said, Madcap Moss, the guy's not going to do anything for this company. Right? The guy was unemployed last year. Now you bring him back and you want me to believe that he's supposed to be a viable figure on SmackDown? No, I don't believe that at all. I don't believe that at all. Okay? But Madcap Moss and Corbin get the win here, and that was that. I hate seeing Kofi Kingston lose. The guy should be, you should build this guy up for the main event scene. The guy should be trying to get a match with Roman Reigns. Do something. SmackDown main event scene needs some excitement right now. So last but not least,
and I've been working on it
we had Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins go face to face. They showed a pretty cool video package earlier in the show, with they were going over the history between Rollins and Reigns back from the Shield, and they actually had Dean Ambrose in the video package, right? I know, yeah, now he's called John Moxley because he's in AEW, but they had a lot of Dean Ambrose in the video package, which I thought they were going to try to cut all of it, but no, they actually had Dean featured all throughout the video package. They went over their history of the Shield, which is crazy. It's already been nearly 10 years since the Shield made their main roster debut. It was November 2012 at Survivor Series, John Cena versus CM Punk versus Ryback. We all remember that, right? It's already been basically a decade since the Shield made their main roster debut. Time goes by so fucking fast. It's insane. It really is insane, And then they show the when Seth cashed in his Money in the Bank, probably the most famous cash in of all time. When Seth cashed in the main event of WrestleMania 31 against Roman and Brock. What was that, 2015, I believe? That's been 7 years already since that famous moment. And yeah, they showed when Seth cashed in, hit the curb stomp on Roman, or no, yeah, hit the curb stomp on Lesnar, and then pin Roman to win the title in the heist of the century, as Michael Cole called it. Such a famous line, the heist of the century. And that would set the stage, for the face-to-face to end the show with Seth and Roman, right? And like I said, these two look almost exactly the same as they did back in 2015. They look almost exactly the same. They have the same haircut. They have the same beard and everything. Like, almost nothing's changed between these two. They've just aged and, gotten better. That's all. But Seth and Roman look exactly the same in this face-to-face segment. That was the first thing I noticed right away. So I'll play the video for you guys.
Let's acknowledge the fact that this is quite a moment. And I was thinking, what do you say? And I was thinking, what do you say? For old time's sake. Right here in Omaha, it sounds like. Just throw it in there. You know you want to.
So Seth puts in the old Shield, fist bump, right? I don't know. It would have been hilarious if Roman actually did it. I would have loved it. I would have kind of popped if Roman had put in the fist, but Roman chose not to.
That's beneath me now.
That's beneath me now.
That's beneath me now.
All right. You don't want to acknowledge that. Well, let's acknowledge the look on your face when I showed up in your office last week. Seems to me I'm the last person on earth you wanted to see. And to be fair, why would you want to see me? I mean, our track record in singles matches for championships is pretty one-sided. I won them all. So I understand where you're coming from. I understand why you wouldn't want to see me.
I don't know. Someone in the comment section, let me know how many times these two have faced. I don't remember all of them. I think they faced a couple times when Seth was in the Authority, right? But I don't remember all their one-on-one. The most famous one, in my opinion, was the most famous one I remember is, of course, Money in the Bank 2016. That was the night when all three members of the Shield held the WWE Championship at the same night. Roman came in as champion. He had that great match with Roman. Roman came in as the WWE champion, right? WWE World Heavyweight Champion at the time, right? Roman comes in with the WWE Championship. Seth beat him with, I think, the pedigree, if I'm right. And then Seth won the title, held the title for like 3 minutes, because then Dean cashed in Money in the Bank that he won that same night, and then he left as the WWE champion. I can't remember their other singles matches. I can't. If you guys have a history of it, put it in the comment section, remind me. But yeah, let me know.
He's out here talking about the past, y'all. You must be sleeping under a rock or something. You don't understand what's happening here. I'm in God mode nowadays, son. I'm the tribal chief. I'm the head of your table. I'm the provider around here, huh? I'm the greatest of this generation, no questions asked. I'm the greatest universal champion of all time, which makes me the greatest to ever do this.
Well, that's an argument we can have. Clearly, the first thing I would say, Roman's not the greatest to do this, right? If we're talking about all time, no, he's not in that conversation, right? You can make an argument that he's low, very low at that list if you want to put him in that conversation, but he's pretty low on that list, right? We're talking about the greatest of all time. We're talking about the John Cena's, the Stone Cold Steve Austin's, the Rocks, the Shawn Michaels, right? You know, and whoever else you want to put that, Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair's. You know, those are the people we talk about when we talk about the greatest of all time. And the Undertaker, I forgot to put him in name. Those are the people you think of when you talk about the greatest of all time, right? Roman's not in that conversation. You know, I don't know if I'm not gonna say he'll never will be. If he is in that conversation, he's at the bottom tier of it. I don't think Roman will ever be on the Mount Rushmore of the greats of all that. Roman's gonna be a first ballot Hall of Famer. We all know that, and this run has turned him into, I guess, an all-time great, if you really want to say that, right? But when you talk about the greatest of all time, Roman's not. I don't think Roman will ever be up there. But if you want to put him in there, you got to put him at the. Me personally, I would put him at the lower tier. That's where I would. But back to what I was saying. In terms of the greatest of this generation, look, I don't know if we're talking about WWE wise. I would put Sasha Banks up there. I would put AJ Styles up there. I would put Seth up there. I would put Brock Lesnar up there. Right? It's a conversation. Roman's up there as well. I can't sit here and deny. I'm not gonna sit here and deny that Roman's not one of the best of his era. I'm not gonna say that. I mean, I'm not gonna say that he's not in there because that would be dumb for me to say. Right? A lot of Roman's greatness has been done in this last run because we all hated Roman as a babyface, right? But greatest of his era, right? If we're talking WWE wise, she's in the conversation, but it's nowhere near like saying that it's undisputed that Roman's the best of his era because there's not. Because there's about 500 or 600 names I can think of right away from this era of WWE, and I'm talking like 2015 on. Because, that was kind of when John Cena started taking a step back and like this new era of WWE started, right? With the brand split and everything. So I would say about 2015 on, we're talking about this era of WWE. The post-John Cena, the post-John Cena full-time era of WWE. Roman and Seth, Sasha Banks, the Four Horsewomen, Brock Lesnar, those names. Right, AJ Styles, etc., etc. So that's a different conversation. I don't think it's Roman. It's undisputed. I don't think it's really undisputed for anything when you talk about Roman. Greatest Universal Champion of all time. Then there's a conversation. There's really only two names that come to mind: is Roman and Brock. Some people will put Steph in there, but not really. It's Roman and Brock when you talk about the best Universal Champions of all time, because Lesnar's held that title so many times, and remember, Lesnar had like a 500-day run that I think Roman just recently surpassed. So that's the conversation. Who's the greater Universal Champion? Is it Roman or is it Brock, right? Brock was part-time most of the time, but you can't sit here and say that Brock wasn't a dominant champion, and Roman, Roman's recent run, right? Roman holding this title for the last year and a half, like he has. He's been dominant as hell. But who was the more dominant Universal Champion? Was it Roman or Brock? That's a conversation any of us can have. But yeah, I think that's all Roman had to say in this segment, right?
Ass, I'm the greatest universe generation. I'm the provider around here, I'm the greatest of this generation. No questions asked. I'm the greatest.
Wrong. There are questions you can ask about that.
This Universal Champion of all time. Which
That's the conversation you can have.
The greatest to ever do this.
Doesn't make you the greatest to ever do that, but
you look yourself in the mirror at night and say that you've done that all by yourself? Can you? Because that's the big difference between you and me, Roman. You see, without Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins is just fine. I was climbing my way up the ladder while you were riding the pine in the CFL. While you was just fine. I was climbing my way up the ladder while you were riding the pine in the CFL. And I was holding your hand left and right back in the Shield days. And then when I sent you packing with the chair to the back, you still couldn't do it on your own. You needed your famous bloodline to help you hold everything up. So the real question here.
Rollins is making some good points.
Because let's not forget, I created you, and I can destroy you. Yes, sir.
not a bad line.
A lot to think about.
This is a waste of my time. You're a waste of my time. I mean, come on. Look at this guy. You look like a clown. You sound like a clown because you're a clown. You clearly don't have the star power that I have. You'll never reach the levels that I've reached. And let's just be honest, if I was looking for a superstar, a megastar, I wouldn't have chose you from Raw. Hell, you wouldn't even been the one I would have chose from your own household. If I wanted to main event the Royal Rumble with a megastar, I would have chose your wife.
I do have a problem with this. My main thing is I kind of think that Roman without Heyman is not the same. Look, I kind of felt Roman's lines here kind of cheesy. He said, "Oh, I'm the tribal chief," his normal nickname stuff. He talked about how he's the greatest of this generation, right? And then he proceeded to call Seth a clown and some other weak stuff, and then he brought up the line like, if I wanted to main event the Rumble with a true star, I would have went after your wife, right? Could say that Becky's a bigger star than Seth. Which the debate you can make a debate there. I don't really care, right? That's not really important. But you can make a debate, Becky or Seth, who's the more, who's the bigger star. But it is what it is, whatever. But it's just Roman's promos feel weak. It just feels weak. I feel like I hear the same thing from Roman every single time now. I'm the tribal chief. I've beaten everybody, which is true. I'm the greatest. I'm just like, where's the story here? I want a story here. This isn't doing anything for me. Plus, both of these men are heel. They haven't done anything to show who's the heel or who's the babyface. Roman's clearly the heel, right? Because he sends the Usos after Seth. And, Seth's able to dodge both men.
Roman's cousins out here again to try to come
Seth's leapfrogs over them. And then he gets back in Roman's face. And then Seth's able to escape up the ramp. Right? But it's like the same thing here every single feud now with Roman. People I understand Roman. I get, you can love Roman however you want, right? I'm more fatigued of his reign, not because of how good he is, but the thing is, there's no stories anymore. Where's the storylines? In the early part of Roman's reign, right? And it's hard to say because his name is Reigns and, title reign, but in the early part of Roman's title reign, right? You had those stories with KO and the stories with Jey Uso and Daniel Bryan and Edge. They had depth to them. And even with John Cena at SummerSlam. But it seems like ever since SummerSlam with Brock and everything, the stories aren't there now with Roman. It's him just bulldozing his way through everybody because it's predictable that he's going to beat everybody, right? Because he's the tribal chief. He's the head of the table. But there's no story. What's the story here with Roman and Seth? It's going to be a great match, right? But there's no story to sink your teeth into. Yes, Seth gave that great line of, I created you and I can destroy you, but I'm just like, give me something more. I want more. It's like something's missing here. So that's my big thing with this. There should be more here with Roman and Seth, and I'm not getting it. And it's hurting my interest in the feud. Because let's be honest, it's predictable that Roman's not losing that title until at least WrestleMania. And he's probably beating Brock at WrestleMania. And you're losing challenges for Roman by the day. Because let's say they go to WrestleMania and they merge the titles. I keep bringing it up because I have to, because it could happen. Who else will be for Roman to face after he beats Seth? Right? After Roman beats Seth at the Rumble, who else would there be for Roman to face? He'll beat Brock at Mania, and that will end that feud. Who would be left for Roman to face? You'll have McIntyre, but we don't know how long McIntyre is going to be out. If he has surgery, McIntyre is going to be out a good chunk of this year. There's nobody else on SmackDown. Maybe Kofi Kingston or Sheamus, but, that's not really believable at all. And that's not that, it's not super interesting. You go to Raw, Who else is there for Roman to face? You have Lashley, which okay, yes, that's a big name feud, right? Big time feud. Lashley and Roman, I could go for that. But there's nobody else. Roman's beats good. He's gonna beat Seth. He's beating KO. He's beating Big E. And I'm not interested in seeing Big E and Roman again because I don't want to see Big E lose again. Right? I've already seen Big E lose to Roman at Survivor Series. I saw Lesnar pin Big E at the Rumble or at day one. I don't want to see Big E have to take another pin to Roman. I'm not interested in that. There's nobody else on the Raw side. Roman's legitimately beating everybody at this point. You're losing challenges for him. So I'm sorry. When I say that I'm fatigued of Roman's title reign, these are the reasons why. He's beating everybody, and there's no stories left. There's really what's the story? You're making Roman to be a god, but you don't have anybody built up to beat him. It's getting to the point now where it's just fatigue. It's the same thing, rinse and repeat. You send the bloodline after whoever he's facing, right, to soften him up. And then when it comes to the pay-per-view, either the bloodline interferes or Roman, beats them. So it's just like at this point, you're just like, it's the same thing. There's no story here with Seth. We don't even know who's the babyface. You're trying to make me believe that Seth is kind of the babyface, but Seth is clearly still a heel. You saw him on Raw. He's still a heel. Seth hasn't made a clear babyface turn. So it's still like the story's not there. Both of them are heels. And I'm kind of it's the same thing with Roman's title reign every time. And personally, I'm kind of just tired of it. That's my opinion. So not everyone's going to agree with me on that, but I'm just like, the interest there, it's just missing it. Roman and Seth will, burn it down, no pun intended, at the Rumble. It's going to be a great match to start, the Rumble, right, or whatever. But I'm just like fatigued of it, So I don't know if I'm missing something here when it comes to Roman Reigns. Let me know in the comment section. I'm open to hearing what you guys think. But personally, I'm this fatigued of Roman's title reign. Me personally, all right. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. But yeah, other than that, that's SmackDown. Like I said, it wasn't a bad show. It's just like, could be better. I know we're missing Sasha, we're missing Drew, right? We're missing some other people. But, still, the Rumble goes on, right? The Rumble goes on. But we'll see. We still have 2 weeks left to build here. So they still have 2 weeks to try to tell a story here with Seth and Roman. I hope they do. But I'm just like, not really feeling this too much. And I've been feeling this way about Roman for months now. If you've listened to the podcast for any point of time in 2021, you guys know I've been feeling this way kind of since WrestleMania, since after Roman beat Cesaro, But anyway, that's about all I got for you guys today. Thank you guys so very much for joining me here on the Legit Shoe Podcast. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you guys did, leave a like on the video. Subscribe if you guys are new to the channel by hitting the bell next to my name, Fitzmonk TV, so you guys are notified every time I post a new video. Follow me down on social media. The links are in the description down below. My Twitter and Instagram are there, so you guys can follow me. Excuse me, man. I'm really hungry. I need to get some food in my belly and watch some NFL playoffs. But if you guys missed any of the other podcasts from this week, the Raw review, the AEW review, those are live on the channel, so go check those out. I'll see you guys most likely Monday night for another Raw review. We are 2 weeks away from the Rumble, so I'll keep you guys updated on everything on that. Now, once again, I do want to send my condolences one more time to Sasha, Mercedes Renato, and her family. Sasha lost her father earlier today, so I pray for her and the family and hope everything gets better. Please send your prayers and condolences out to them as they go through this tough time. But thank you guys for everything. I will see you guys later. Stay safe and healthy, y'all.